I was sitting in my cubicle, I must have been in my early 30s, and thought about the fact that I would be sitting in this cubicle for another 35 years. And even though I liked my job very much, I just could not think about living out the rest of my career inside a building, you know, in a cubicle. I've always been sort of an outdoorsy person, and I knew some people who were firefighters, a prominent family of firefighters here on the east side, and I saw what they were doing. There's a big volunteer program in District 10, which is now East Side Fire and Rescue, and I was encouraged to become part of that. And the longer I was part of that, the more I thought I could really do this.
I knew in high school that I wanted to be a firefighter, so right after high school I started going to BCC, Bellevue Community College, taking fire science classes. At the time, it was 99.9% all males, and it was pretty intimidating, but I had a lot of support from my family, and the other guys that were in my class were all very supportive. I started volunteering. At that time, that was how you gained experience in the fire service. I started volunteering at East Side Fire, and I started testing, and a few years after that, I ended up getting hired.
So prior to becoming a firefighter, I was a professional soccer player. I was playing with the Seattle Reign in the NWSL, and during that time of playing soccer, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to play professional soccer forever. So I was in search of what was going to be next post-soccer, and I had a conversation with a family friend who was a former Seattle firefighter, actually. And in that one conversation, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Firefighting kind of checked off all the things I was looking for in a job. It was challenging, physically active, you're not at a desk all day, every day is a little bit different, you're part of a team. So in that way, I think I drew a lot of similarities between playing professional soccer and the fire service, and it's definitely been probably one of my best decisions in my life.
So when I came into the fire service, I had my fire service career front and center, and I didn't have having a family on my radar at all. I just wanted to focus on getting through Recruit Academy, getting through our apprenticeship program. But then once I was done with apprenticeship and I started specializing in other disciplines at the fire service, I started realizing, hey, maybe I would like to start a family as well. My husband and I, we got pregnant, and I hadn't done any research or talked to anyone at that point. But we have, at Puget Sound Fire, we had 3 women before me who had children while they were firefighters. And so I had some past practice to lean on and some experience that I could draw from in how they did things. Having a family, having a life outside is completely within reason, and it is something that the fire service wants. We want balanced people in the fire service, and sometimes that means starting a family. And I've gotten full support from my fire department to have kids. I've got 2 boys, and it's been a journey. It always is a journey, but it's been a really good result.
There's definitely some things I was nervous about before deciding to get pregnant. I have to work out a lot to stay physically fit for my job, and it definitely was a concern that I wouldn't be able to be active during my pregnancy, and how to recover safely after my pregnancy so I can get back to work and be strong enough to do this job. Luckily, I've found a lot of amazing resources out there to help me, and personal trainers to help guide me to safe activity during pregnancy and a safe recovery so I can get back to doing the job that requires such a strong body.
It was not until I had met my husband and we were starting a family and I did some testing that I realized I would likely need in vitro fertilization to be able to get pregnant. And while it was stressful to think about the cost associated with that, it was also stressful to think about that conversation I was going to have with my officer. I was really embarrassed at first just to even have to talk about it. But I was really happy to find that I was met with amazing support. Once we started IVF, I went on modified duty, and I've been working for the department and supporting the EMS division. Originally was going to City Hall to do that work, and once COVID got a little more severe, we just had me work remotely from home. So just those things in themselves have been a blessing and a very nice way to carry out the pregnancy in a very safe and relaxed environment.
Working shift work as a firefighter has huge pros, and it also has cons. You know, I don't get to see my daughter sometimes for 72 hours in a row, and it hurts. But at the same time, it pays off big time when I have 4 days off at a time that I can spend with my kids. There are a lot of days, a lot of nights, but again, you know, two days a week I'm not there for my kids at night, and it's kind of tough.
The job can be really challenging, and there's always times where you go on calls and it sort of reminds you of things in your personal life. For me, you know, when I went on calls with older patients, it reminded me of my mother as she was aging and getting sick and that sort of thing. And there's once in a while that, you know, I see a young child that would remind me of my daughter, but it didn't, you know, I don't think it made it any more difficult for me to do my job, but it sure made me able to relate to that and to, you know, mothers and things like that. And I think it's the same for men though. You know, they see young children and it reminds them of their own children, and you know, it's really no different for me than it is for the men. They see themselves in the community they're serving.